10, 9.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Get ready for two guys who can't handle the truth.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
But we can. Dave Palumbo, Chris Aceto. RxMuscle.com presents Heavy Muscle Radio. Watch out!
Welcome to another episode of Heavy Muscle Radio. I'm Dave Palumbo, and I'm joined, as always, by the technician on this August 20th, 2018 evening. And Chris, we are closer and closer to the Olympia. I actually booked my plane tickets, which is a true sign of commitment on my part, because I was having trouble. I kept having trouble pulling the trigger on it, and I finally did it. I booked the tickets.
I'm glad you.
Yeah, so we'll be out there. Is it true that you're going out a week early?
I'm going out tomorrow.
You go tomorrow.
I'm going out a week early because I just want to get away from my kids, and then I just want to get settled a little bit there too.
Well, you know what? The funny thing is, and I got to just tell people this because this is true. I always talk to your guys, and when I interview them after they win the shows, and I'm like, we talk about Chris, and they're like, oh, Chris loves this. Every 3 hours we pose around the clock. Chris just sleeps on my couch. I said, Chris, I don't even know why Chris gets a room. I said, he'd much happier on the couch, no matter where it is.
No, you probably talked to Sergio this week.
Yeah, I did.
And Sergio said, and he did he didn't do the show on a whim, but he ate, and you get the scoop, and I talked about it last week. He ate like a maniac in Chicago. And then at some point, I forced him to do the show. Not forced him, but I just put pressure on him to do the show.
To do the Tampa show. Yeah.
So he goes like, well, I got a 2-bedroom place for me and you in Tampa. And I'm like, oh, God, you better look good. I'm thinking in the back of my mind.
Sure.
So, but I was like, like a tick. All right, let me see what you look like, Sergio. Let me look, and he really only came together for like the last 12 hours.
And Sergio is really needy anyway, so he likes the fact that every 3 hours you probably have him getting up. I would be like, can you leave me the fuck alone and let me sleep already? I don't want to get up every 3 hours. Sergio's like probably, setting his alarm. He's up every. All right, Chris, let's pose. Come on.
Well, no, I'd have to get him up, but we did joke a lot. I don't know if he told you that. We joked around the whole entire time. I get his humor, and I think people don't. Some people don't get his humor, but as long as I get it.
Yeah. Well, we have this. We have this whole Redcon. This whole Redcon Iron Road to the Olympia, series that's starting, today, and I don't know who's going to be up first, but we did a bunch of interviews already, and Sergio was great. I mean, he's good. You know what the funny thing is? You guys stayed at that 2-bedroom apartment or whatever you stayed, which is completely reminiscent of what you did with Cedric in Brazil that year that he missed the competitors meeting and Lee Thompson disqualified him.
Yep.
And the same exact thing happened in Tampa.
I know.
Sergio missed this competitors meeting, which he claims was because he was sick and he had told Tim Gardner about it. But the bottom line is he missed the competitors. Luckily, there was normal people running the show this time around, so no one disqualified him. But it was like deja vu all over again, as Yogi Berra would say.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, but it was a blast. We had a blast. So you interview him, Jose. You got to interview. These are the guys I'm helping for the show because people asking. Jose, Kamal, Zane in the 212. Hope you get all those three. Sergio and Roden in the open.
Well, Roden sent me pictures unsolicited the other day of himself posing.
Pretty proud of the way he looks.
Yeah, with Jim Mannion. I've never seen Roden release a picture before the Olympia, which is a good sign because at 4 weeks out, if he's sending me a picture, which he said I can definitely put up, which we did, he's got to be feeling good about himself, which is for once, rather than playing catch up and trying to fix stuff that's broken, he seems to be ahead of schedule, huh?
Well, I don't know if he's ahead, but he's on. And, last year was like a panic prep. And, and I mean, it is what it is, but I would, I can't wait for the Olympia because I think he's going to be big and I think he's going to be hard. And
people don't talk about the fact that Sean Roden is not 30 years old. he's in his 40s, right? I mean, I don't know how 40 what, but he's still improving. It's kind of amazing when you think about it that this guy is still getting better, in his 40s, and is looking better every year. I'm impressed because guys don't improve in their 40s usually.
Yeah, no, he's I mean, some people can, some people can't. And
Well,
I think,
who improves? Dexter's not improving. He might be just as good, but he's not improving. Who improves in their 40s?
We'll see the day of the show,
But I'm saying, who improves in their 40s, though? No one really nowadays. They just if they last, then they pretty much maintain what they have,
That's true. So, and then, before I forget, because I know we'll forget, I got Reagan, I already forgot, Henry Pierre and Stanimal in the classic. So the dark horse.
you got a good group of guys up there.
Yeah. So I can't be in every room every 3 hours, but I can be in every 6 hours.
Well, I asked Jose when I interviewed him. I said, Jose, where are you staying?
He stays at the same place every year.
Well, I thought he was going to say he was staying at the Platinum with you, but he's like, no I'm staying in the free room in the Orleans.
Yeah, but he upgrades to the penthouse.
Oh, he does? He didn't tell me
so
that.
So he gets like a 1,500 square foot place.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought
it's
he was
just like gigantic. Yeah.
I thought he was economizing. I was like, wow, that's pretty impressive. He's staying in the Orleans. I think that's pretty, blue collar. I like it.
Well, he might be the only one who knows that. I think like Robin Chang gets him the free room.
Right.
Or AMI, whoever gets the free room.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jose, like 363 days before, calls up and says, I would like to upgrade. And they say it's like another $100 to upgrade.
Oh, that's cheap. Yeah. That's a good idea, actually. I'll go hang out in Jose's room. Maybe he's got an extra room in that suite of his.
Yeah, no, the place
I'll
is...
laugh my ass off the whole time I'm there.
Oh, he's always a ball of laughs.
Well,
right?
If anyone out there has an extra room at the Orleans, I'm going to check into that little place you told me about. If anyone has an extra room at the Orleans, let me know about it. ASAP.
If anyone knows the name of the suites, there's a hotel that is like, quote, all suites, and it's in the parking lot of the Orleans Hotel. Then email Dave and tell him the name of that hotel.
I'll take a regular room in the Orleans. I don't care. I'm not going. I'm just going there to work. So I'm not going there to party. I don't care. I'll take whatever the cheapest.
Well,
thing
you'll be
is.
there with me, so we'll have a blast broadcasting.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah. So you started the Redcon Road to the Olympia.
Redcon 1, yeah. Iron Road to the Olympia was.
Iron Road to the
We'll
Olympia.
be launching a lot of interviews this week. I got a lot more coming up, and we're gonna try to get as many good interviews as possible with people. To really kind of look, no one's promoting the show. Do you notice this? I mean, it's like we don't see any really excitement coming out for the show.
Isn't it funny? Do you
I
think
don't
that's
know
good
why.
for the show or bad for the show?
Well, it's bad for the show because, I mean, you want to get people excited about it, right?
You know what? It doesn't. It just. There doesn't seem to be a lot of. Whose quote is that? See if you can attribute that quote. That quote is strongly attributed 2 years ago to who? Who was on your show?
What's the quote?
3 years. There doesn't seem to be a lot of excitement building for the Olympia. I remember like verbatim because most of everything he says, and yes, he listens to the show, is 100% dead on. He said, well, Dave, there's not really a lot of excitement right now for this show.
Jay?
Yeah.
I just knew the accent yet. Well, you know what? The show there's excitement in the fans, but it just doesn't seem like anyone is promoting like the show very much. So I'm going to, obviously, every year we try to do it. We promote the hell out of it. We really, try to get the athletes. I want to get look, these guys have earned, and girls have earned the right to be on that stage. It wasn't an invite. It wasn't, a choice. It was a qualification. And so they should at least be acknowledged for that and allow them to like say, hey, this is how I feel, going to the Olympia. I'm excited, or I'm this, or I'm that, or it means this to me or that to me. And, I just think that, because think about it, only the winners or the top guys are going to really be acknowledged once they're at the show. it's so before the show, I think these other people that qualified and have names in their industry and that really need to be acknowledged. I'm looking at my computer screen and I see these pen marks all over my computer screen. My son was writing with a pen on my computer screen. I'm like, what the hell is this? And then I remembered he was taking the pen and writing. His new thing is he likes to write on everything.
Oh, well, come to my house and you can see like the most gorgeous, absolute formerly fabulous leather couch just ripped into tatters.
Oh, really? They destroyed the couch? How did they do that?
I had, my oldest son was a picker. In other words, he would take his fingernail and just, ever since he was born, just like pick at things. He could pick holes. Yeah.
He would scratch things with the finger?
I got a hole in the drywall in my den that I've never fixed. How's that?
Wow. And that's from him picking?
Him picking, yeah.
Wow.
Even to this day, I'll scream, "Stop picking!" He'll be like sitting in the car and
what is it, like a nervous habit?
I don't know what it is. It's like a dog that digs a hole.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Picking with the fingernail, and he, I got 10,000 holes fixed in apartments, and in my own house I got a hole right in the den. and then the leather couch that you would have loved, Dave. You would have loved it had you seen it when it was in its heyday.
I'm sure it was probably like when you were a bachelor. It probably was awesome.
I should donate it to the Bodybuilding Hall of Fame and say it was like I don't know, someone's couch when they prepped for the USA in 1985.
It was Lee Haney's couch.
Yeah. Lou Ferrigno's can opener that he used to open up tuna fish on first class flight.
No, he's still got that same fucking one. He's probably still using it.
Well, we can get a replica, artist rendition.
Yeah. Well, I got to just tell people when that, I don't know what they were releasing the Jose Raymond interview, but if you guys missed that one, you're missing probably one of the best interviews of all time. And the reason is that we don't really talk about the Olympia that much. I mean, we do a little bit, but it's about Jose's life. And I guarantee you 99% of you don't know anything about Jose and where he came from and the obstacles that he overcame. I didn't. And it's an unbelievable story about what his brother Tito and him had to endure growing up. And I'm not going to ruin it for you. Watch the interview. Sergio, of course, was amazing. He's hey, if you ever want to have a good rated show, just have Sergio on because he'll talk about anything. This guy,
Yep.
I mean, he's so honest. It was really
maybe we can get me. I told you I was watching. I'm in Atlanta at my in-laws for a week, and I've been watching Family Feud over and over. So maybe we can get for the bodybuilding Family Feud. Me, you, Sergio, Jose. Who else could we get?
The whole thing about Family Feud is it's one family against another. So
I know, but we'll have to have the bodybuilding family. We can have it against like the
maybe
the
we could
family.
We'd have to get like the RxMuscle family versus the I don't know MD family or something like that.
The MD family can have Blackman in there, Ron Harris. They can only have two people.
No, it would be Blackman. It would be Elise. You got to get Elise in there too, right? Because they always write. They usually have like the like the head of the family, and then they have like his wife, and then they have like the kids,
and then the married like son-in-law.
Yeah. So it'd be like Blackman, Elise, then maybe like Ron Harris, and even though he doesn't work for them anymore, I would want to put Christian Duke in there anyway, just to have like the
it'd be good for
the crazy uncle, that he'd be like the crazy kooky uncle.
And so you would be the head on our side.
They'd have the Boston Terrier, bulldog or whatever, the French bulldog whose legs don't work, rear legs don't work. He'd be like the last person in the crew there. And then on our side it would be me, you, Romano, Lee Priest, and Boston Lloyd.
Well, wait a minute. What about the guy with the exploding arms? We might have.
We got to get Valentino in there too.
We'd have to have Valentino. People, it might be the craziest rated show ever.
And the first round, you always have like the first person on the panel. It would be like Blackman versus me, and they'd be like, name a name that we use in the industry for shredded gluteus maximus muscles.
Kai!
Nah. What do you mean? Why isn't that right?
Who was it?
No, it would be like it was a term, and I said striated.
I see.
Number one answer.
Wait a minute.
Ding, ding.
I did just like him. I went right. I didn't listen. I went
you
right
didn't listen to the
person.
question. And then we go to Chris. You'd be the second person. A name for ripped, excuse me, for super lean gluteus maximus muscles. Shredded. Number two answer. Ding, ding. And we get the whole thing. Next question. Then it would be like Elise versus you. Name a popular bodybuilding guru. Elise. My husband, Steve Blackman. Chris Aceto.
Phil V's.
Elise.
I just met Phil. I like
Ron
Phil.
Harris.
I just met Phil. I'm throwing him under the bus. I'm sorry, Phil.
Boston Lloyd. Honey Ramrod. Ning ning. Anyway, yeah, it would be pretty funny. It would be pretty funny. I'd have to organize the whole thing though.
No, we could do like it could be exclusively bodybuilding.
I could get Triple H to be like the host of the thing, you know.
Yeah.
He could be the old Richard Dawson.
Yeah, French kiss all the each.
That's all the women.
Can you imagine when he used to run the show?
Right, he used to kiss him on the mouth, right?
He used to make out like crazy with them. He'd be like high as a kite.
Yeah, was he? You think he was drunk all the time?
Oh, half the time, yeah.
Yeah, that without a doubt. And they loved him. People that rated. No one said anything. I never heard a bad word about that guy. Right? No scandals, nothing.
Days, that was before the Me Too movement. He molested everyone on the show for like 20 years. That's how Bob Barker, I think, had to get off the show. I think he also like had issues with like making moves on the.
Oh, he did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You think you're right. And then what's his name? It was Pat. Well, no, Pat Sajak didn't. He had I think he had a relationship with Vanna White, but I don't think that he was sexually harassing any of the women on there.
No, that didn't.
Think about it. When you work with someone every single day.
We could also do a bodybuilding $20,000 pyramid.
Yeah, I know. Or password. What was that? Yeah. Oh yeah, $20,000.
$20,000 pyramid.
It was the same thing, right? Yeah.
You know.
That's the fun game. Yeah, we have to like.
Ananthate, cypionate,
testosterone.
No, long-acting esters, testosterone that people use. Bootleg steroids. Clen, thyroid, DNP, cardio, things that burn calories. Ding.
Oh man. Well, we did an iron. It was supposed to be an Iron Rage because we do Iron Rage every week with Lee Priest and Romano. But Boston Lloyd wanted to do this show on veganism, and just because he's sick of hearing about all these vegan people, so I turned it into like a little iron debate. Boston Lloyd, Lee Priest, and Romano. It'll be released this week. It was pretty funny. I'm gonna have that pain in the ass vegan gains now on my fucking case after this freaking thing debuts. Guaranteed he's going to be fucking making videos and torturing me again. I just got rid of him too recently, and then vegan gains because he's going to be like, you know, he needs material all the time. This is going to be great material for him, you know. But,
what was is the end of the impression that?
Well, you can't be. You can't be a
vegetables build muscle.
No, you can't. You can't be a big body. There's no successful bodybuilder in the history of the sport that was a true vegan. You know that.
Hold on. I'm going to backtrack. Somebody asked me about vegetable protein today, and I had a funny text back. I deleted him because I got mad at him.
I have a few clients that are vegans, but they're bikini competitors. You know, that's fine because you don't need a lot of muscle in bikini, but you just can't build muscle. You know, and one of the greatest things, you know, Dr. Scott Connolly is one of my mentors. Made a great statement. You know, the mountain gorilla is a vegetarian. You know, it eats leaves all day long, right? But from the minute it wakes up to the minute it goes to sleep at night, it eats. It doesn't stop because it has to consume such large quantities of these leaves to extract enough protein to be able to sustain itself that it's almost, no human could do that. It would be impossible. That's why we evolved as omnivores, to be able to eat both, animal protein and plant protein, because
if
it's more efficient.
Dave, how about this? Because I hate science. If somebody was going to be a good bodybuilder, eating a strict vegetarian diet, we would have known about not him, but them by now. Simple as that. We would have known about him. It would have been like, did you see Jose Raymond? He looks crazy. Yeah, he doesn't eat any protein. What do you mean? He eats tomatoes, and he complements them with kidney beans and rice, and
right.
It just...
Well, the oldest story in our industry about a vegetarian was, everyone always said Andreas Calling was a vegetarian, and he looked pretty good, right, in his heyday.
Yeah, he looked good.
Still looks good. And then I interviewed him at the Masters Nationals, if you remember, one year. Masters Olympia, excuse me, when Jacques, I think the first year she held it or something like that. And I asked him, I said, you were a vegetarian. I said, how did you do it? And he's like, he wasn't a vegetarian. He ate fish. He ate fish and dairy. Yeah. So he just didn't eat red meat. And that's back then in the 80s and 90s. That's what people called a vegetarian, right? If you didn't eat red meat, you were a vegetarian.
Yeah.
But veganism is when you don't eat any animal source of protein. No whey, no dairy, no eggs.
The guy's a investment guy, and I said, he asked me, here it is, what do you think about vegetarianism for building mass? And I said, it's like junk bonds. And he got it, meaning bonds that are really going to eventually be worth, probably, most likely, highly likely, not much.
Yeah.
So he got it.
I have you'll appreciate this expression. I always like expressions, because I grew up, with my mother's side was Jewish, and my dad obviously was, they were Catholic Italians, and there was always expressions, Italian expressions, always being thrown around. My father used to like to always say "fungu."
I know. You know what's so funny, Dave? I used to hear that in my house.
Oh, you heard it too in your house?
Yeah, and one time I tried it out, and I didn't know anyone was in the house. I had to be like 6, and I know exactly in my house where I was standing, and I have a crappy memory unless it comes to body. And I screamed at the top of my lungs, "Bungu!" I didn't know anyone was in the house. My mother was in the bathroom.
Screamed it out.
She came flying out and covered my mouth with a wet cloth. And I didn't even know who it was or what it was. Fungu, yeah.
And then all the Yiddish expressions from the my Jewish side, I was always hearing. So I have a client she's Mexican. She's a women's physique competitor, and she sent me an email, and she's like, I'm feeling. Let me see if I get the expression right. Gordi-guanga, she said. Gordi-guanga, she kept saying to me. And I said, what does it mean? She's like, chubby and flabby. She's like, I'm not really sure how to translate it into English. Because it was like right after her show, and she kind of was rebounding, And I thought it was pretty funny. Gordi-guanga.
Gordi-guanga. I'll start using it in wrap-ups. He looked good, but he had a little gordi-guanga on his lower back.
I figured you'd like that. Now, there was an article that came out recently. Someone sent it to me. Actually, I think it was what's his name, Dr. George, who we interviewed, and it's a study they did which seems to link, Chris, it's pretty crazy, Alzheimer's disease and the use of trenbolone.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
How do you make that link? I mean, how many people could there be in the study?
I can't believe that they actually were able to. They actually did the study, but yeah, they're saying that. I'm going to read it right here. Testosterone and its metabolites, estradiol and DHT, seem to offer protection against Alzheimer's. That's why Ma and Lu wondered, I guess those are the researchers, what effect trenbolone has on the formation of beta amyloid plaques. Now you got to remember, in people with Alzheimer's, they don't break down this amyloid beta 42. It's called. It's some kind of a protein, and in people with Alzheimer's, it accumulates in the brain, and they think that's what takes away the memory and destroys the brain eventually. And when they do an autopsy on Alzheimer's patients after they die, they find there's a lot of all this amyloid plaque in the brain. So what they did was they gave mice 5 injections of trenbolone over a 48-hour period. The human equivalent of doses the researchers used would be about 0.85 milligrams per kilogram. So the way I figure it out is I figured let's take a 200-kilogram person, right? That would be about a 100-kilogram person, which would be about 220 pounds. That would mean they would be taking about 850 milligrams of trenbolone. And so it's a pretty big dose over the course of 48 hours, but nothing probably Boston Lloyd hasn't done already. And according to the researchers, the results, the amyloid beta 42 accumulated in the brains of the male rats. And they showed the results over this 48-hour period. Now, obviously, this was a short-term study, so who knows if it really has any relevance to anything. And this was in rats, too.
Yeah.
The addition of anti-androgens, such as flutamine, reduced the amyloid beta 42 accumulation. So brain damage caused by trenbolone seems to be due to its androgenic effects, according to this. A combination of trenbolone and DHT, which is dihydrotestosterone, obviously, boosts the accumulation of beta amyloid. So that's not good. So who knows? I don't know. I doubt it's going to stop anyone from taking trenbolone, and I don't even know if it has any relevance because I don't like these short-term studies. How about take a guy who's used trenbolone for 10 years and check out his brain? You know what I mean? And see if there's any. The problem with beta amyloid is it's really hard to see if it's actually in your brain until you actually die and they actually cut your brain open. So, they could do MRI studies to see and stuff like that. I remember my dad was in the hospital probably about 5 years ago, I think it was, maybe even a little less. And they did a CAT scan of his brain. And they said that they didn't really see any like Alzheimer's type stuff there. They just saw shrinkage that was consistent with his age. So he obviously had dementia, but I don't know. It could have just been, from getting old. I don't know. I don't know if he actually had Alzheimer's per se.
Yeah, it's funny. I tell my 4-year-old he wouldn't eat salmon the other day, or a few weeks ago. I said, if you don't eat, your brain is going to shrink. And now he keeps saying he'll ask me if I tell him to eat something. He always says, "Will my brain shrink?"
Kids listen to everything you say. They hear everything.
They take it. Yeah, that's right. He takes it exactly as is. Like his brain's going to shrink. Yeah.
So I had the morbid job of having to go pick up my dad's ashes at the crematorium the other day. How weird is that when you walk out? I have to turn. I know my dad would want me to talk about the absurdity of this because it really is absurd. You walk into this place, they give you this little bag. And it's always a nice place, because you're paying a fortune for this anyway. They give you this bag, and so I'm like walking out. I'm like putting my dad in the trunk of my car. It's kind of like, it's kind of like ridiculous almost. And you know what the truth is with these ashes? Who the hell knows who you really got in the bag anyway?
Well, they give
you a bag of dust. It could be anything in there or anyone,
Yeah. Yeah.
You're
ashes,
basically. I'm paying to have my dad. Basically just. Gotten rid of essentially. It's like when you go to, if you ever had to put an animal down in the vet, they say, what do you want to do with the animal? You can bury it, or we can cremate it, or we can do. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with it? I don't know what. Cremate it. What do you want me to tell you? Well, you want me to do it separately, or you want to do it in a mass cremation? What the hell do I know? Once the person's not there anymore, once an animal's not there anymore, it's not that person. That person is not there. That's you're talking about. Throw me in a garbage bag and just throw me in the freaking trash. You
want to hear a crazy story about burials?
Yeah.
My grandmother from Italy. She was dying since I was a kid. She was just a martyr, but she'd always tell me, she was getting ready to die. She had in her kitchen the receipt for her burial.
Oh, she already paid for it?
She prepaid for it. And it was one of these things, she paid for it when she was like 40. Seriously.
And she lasted to what, 80?
It was 93.
93. And she still had the receipt? Was the place still open? She
still had the receipt, and it was in her kitchen, and, it was like this, rigmarole when you went over there, and she's, I'm not feeling good, and if I die...
Here's the receipt.
No one has to worry about me. I'm not going to be a burden for anyone.
She outlived everyone, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, she died, and the funeral director pulled my father aside and said, gave him a bill. How long do you think it took before my father started to choke the guy? Seriously.
Oh, really?
Like 2 seconds. That he'd have the audacity to, pull him over, because he thought it was, quote, not the right time. But two, that he should know that, which I was actually in agreement, that she had prepaid.
Now, did they try to hit you with like extra? Did your father get extra charges?
No. Once the guy almost got choked to death.
That was the end of it. Yeah.
That was the end of it. It would have been complimentary even if she had never paid. I'm sure. He scared him to almost, almost into his own grave.
Yeah. So I decided I was going to go. Every year they have like this big reptile breeder show in Daytona, Florida. And I haven't gone to a show in a while because the kids and everything like that. And it's just I can't go fly anyplace. So last year I wanted to go, but I had my shoulder surgery, so I couldn't drive. And so Amanda said, "Yeah, I got to go for the day." So I took Tyler, the producer, and we with the video camera, and we went. And I went and interviewed people. It was like a 4-hour drive. And so I got up really early. I had like 3 hours of sleep. And I said, you know what? I got to drink coffee because I'm not falling asleep at the wheel. You know what I mean? Because it's not acceptable. And I don't do any stimulants. When you don't do stimulants and you drink coffee, I had 1 cup. You feel like you're on,
Crack.
You feel like you're like on the greatest speed of all time. It works so well. It works so well when you don't use it. I was like. It was like instantaneously not tired anymore, and I did the same, another cup on the way back, and it was phenomenal. I was like, oh. So finally when I got back, obviously I still had to answer emails. I got back about 8 o'clock at night because it was 4 hours there, 4 hours back, and we stayed for about 4 hours. So I get back and I'm go to sleep about maybe 2 in the morning. I'm answering emails and I don't even know what I'm writing anymore. You know how when you get to that level of tired,
delirious.
You're like almost like asleep while you're awake. You're dreaming, but you're not really asleep yet. So I'm like, I got to go to sleep. So I go to sleep, and I have like I slept like maybe six hours, or 5 or 6 hours, which is I probably had about 6 hours, which is more than I've had, in probably 6 months. And I felt so alert the whole day. I was like, wow, I actually feel like my memory was better and everything. I'm like, maybe I feel like I'm turning into my dad because I'm not sleeping at all. And I really believe that to be true because, they say sleep is really necessary to solidify memory. So if you don't sleep, all the memories that you're getting, you're not making them permanent memories in your brain, actually. It's pretty interesting when you think about it.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And I'm sure it's true, which is probably why I have no memory.
Yeah, you never sleep. Yeah, you haven't slept for 20 years probably.
What about... do you sleep better when you're away from your family?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. You better cut the tape there so your family don't hear it.
Yeah, probably.
No, it's true, though. I mean, it's true, right? When you're... Like, I went down to Tampa, and I got no sleep on top of no sleep, and I felt completely rested from that trip.
Yeah.
Because I was away from, chaos of kids.
You know when I got the best night's sleep of my entire life? When I flew to Australia.
I knew you were going to say that.
I slept for 17 hours. I just kept taking Xanax. I woke up. When I got there, I was so alert. I felt like I was like Albert Einstein. I was so smart. I felt so well rested, Now, obviously, the sleep is not that good because you're sitting in a seat, but if you don't even need to have a good quality of sleep. 17 hours of sleep, you're going to be fucking rested no matter what.
Exactly.
A study published in the British Medical Journal, I feel like Blackman now. The British Medical Journal of January 2012 has concluded that age-related cognitive decline begins much earlier than expected by our mid-40s.
Oh, I totally believe that.
Even more distressing, this decline can progress at very unpredictable rates. Scientists have identified that acetylcholine, a key neurotransmitter, is responsible for forming new connections and strengthening neural pathways in the brain. In other words, it keeps your mind sharp. However, persistently low levels of this key neurotransmitter places you at risk. So we got to try to boost our acetylcholine levels.
How do you do that?
I'm progressing on the article here.
What can I just take a supplement?
Yes, that's what I'm looking for here. I thought even taking soy lecithin was good for acetylcholine boosting. I got to keep looking. I'm reading. Unfortunately, most of us levels of acetylcholine decrease as we age, especially more rapidly after 45. Oh, so you and I are screwed, Chris. We're really in big trouble. Oh my God. What does it say here? Let me see. All right, take a guess. What supplement helps?
I used to know everything when it came to that stuff, but I told you I gave up on science. I'm serious.
Chris doesn't know anything. Right? Isn't that what people say? Chris doesn't know anything.
Yeah, they do say that. They say he's not a science guy, and I say, no, I'm not. I just, right?
I'm looking for the... Oh, you know what? Yeah, you know what was a big one? Ginkgo biloba. That was big. That's been big for years, right?
Is that still big?
Well, they're saying it increases your acetylcholine levels. Alpha GPC, lion's mane herb, ginkgo biloba, huperazine. Oh, that's one of the ingredients I'm thinking about putting in my new Neuralize formula right there.
I've been taking lately, the only supplement I've taken is turmeric.
Turmeric's good for reducing inflammation, yeah. Very good.
It reduces inflammation in the brain and helps with memory.
Oh, it does? Didn't know that. I'm taking that too.
But the good thing is I'm remembering to take it.
Actually, I'm taking co-curmin, but I think isn't it the same thing?
Yeah, that's the same thing.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy when you hit a certain age, you don't even care about your body anymore. You just want your brain to keep working. You're like, all right, you know what? My body has failed me.
Yeah,
let's just keep the brain working. Right? let's just make sure my brain keeps working for the next 50 years while I'm alive. That's the most important thing.
Threshold, you're lowering the bar.
Pretty soon people will be injecting stem cells into their brain, trying to regenerate stuff.
Oh, of course.
Speaking of which, John Lindsay and his crew, all over the world, they did a show in Ireland this year. They did a show in Brazil. Was it last week or the week before that? Now they are in Vietnam this past weekend. They did a pro men's physique show in Vietnam. And Mahdi Sharafat from Marina Del Rey, California won. Congratulations. It's good. We were just talking about we should see more USA guys going out to
yeah, you did say that
compete
last week.
in these shows in weird places.
Yeah.
And they were.
No,
well,
someone I'm helping for a show. He could have won a few of these shows. I mean, he didn't have the money to really travel to them, but
remember, everyone, these qualifiers are for next year. They're not for this year's Olympia. Second place was Mohammed Kashanaki from Iran. I believe Kamali was helping this guy. And Juan Farrow from Spain was third. It's funny. Kamali's been sending me all these text messages. Let me pull them up. He's got some guys he's been helping that are really pretty freaking good, I got to tell you. Or he's not helping them all, but he at least knows these guys from Iran. It's a shame these guys can't come over and compete in the U.S. because there's a lot of freaking good Iranian guys.
You know what? If I can remember Jay's quote by saying, "Who said on your show, there's not a lot of hype running into this year's Olympia." Kamali did say these guys are a dime a dozen over there. I was there.
Yeah.
Right?
They're all doing the European tour, these guys. That's what they're waiting for now. So that's like their Olympia. They're doing the Prague show. They're doing all the overseas shows because they can go there, I guess. Isn't it funny that we boycott all these people and all our allies let them all into the country? I think it's pretty funny. Unbelievable. Well, congratulations to John Lindsay and the scrum. It's kind of cool to know that we're spread all over the place now. John's cool because what John does is he goes and holds these amateur shows all over the place, which is the way you make your money. Then he holds one division pro show, usually a bikini or men's physique, just to kind of showcase the pro division at the show. Because look, it's expensive to hold the division because you have to get prize money out, and you're not getting an application fee from these guys. So rather than hold 15 different visions, he holds one at these new shows, just to get the people of Vietnam to say, hey, here's a pro athletes on stage. But the amateur show is what you're nurturing, because that's where you make your money, and that's how you spread the word, so to speak. So I thought it was a good idea. And I know I don't know how they're doing it, because
Wouldn't you like to go to Vietnam?
I wouldn't mind going there. Yeah, but the food is probably good there. I always think about whenever I decide where I'm going to go. I always think about the food. What's the food going to be like?
You probably have good snakes too. You probably like all the snakes over there too.
Oh yeah. We'd definitely go herp in there. That's for sure. Now, I'm trying to think. Did we like the food in Prague or not when we went there?
No. Prague had
crappy food, I think, right?
Yeah, we can get Eduardo Correa to comment on their food. The food connoisseur, and he did not like Prague.
Yeah.
No, we didn't like the food in Prague.
We weren't treated. I wasn't treated very nice in Prague. Remember?
Well, they didn't. Yeah. They wanted to ban you from the show, right?
I think they did. The first year I got there. I remember. We flew in there.
Yeah,
and I got there, and they tried to not give me. They tried not to give me press passes.
Yeah, because the next time I think they tried to ban me from RxMuscle. I said, I'm just here with Sean Roden.
Right. Yeah. That's right. So I go there. I ask for press passes. I'm like, okay. I get there. They're like, oh, we don't have any press passes. We don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, guys, I flew from New York to Prague. I have an email saying I have press passes. You think I'm really going to get on an airplane if I don't have press passes? And they were still pretending like, oh, we can't find it. I'm like, okay. Luckily at the time,
well, good. Make one. Just make one up. That's right. It's not nuclear.
Luckily at the time,
I was not.
I made a phone call and it was taken care of. But and then the following year, I requested them, and they refused them or something like that, right? They said, well, we don't want to give them to you. I'm like, all right, great. So you were already going there with, like I said, with Roden. Roden had a ticket from you, and then they try to tell you can't come in, right? Some shit like that. Yeah. It's like you're like, I'm not here to cover it from anyone.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. These places never ceases to amaze me.
No, so where was the best food that we went to? Is the question.
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to be honest with you. I only spent one day there, but because I had to come back early because I tore my quad. But I had some good food in India. Now I wasn't eating the native food. I was eating the hotel food, but the hotel food was authentic Indian food, but it was good quality Indian food. Mm-hmm. Were you there? Did you go to India? Shrew Classic? No. They had this. This was like right up your alley. 12 midnight, they opened this like buffet, all you can eat buffet for everyone. At 12 midnight. Now it worked great because I got there about 11 o'clock at night the first day. So I had this great buffet at midnight. I'm like, holy, this is fucking awesome. What hotel has a freaking buffet? It was the greatest buffet of all time, with the greatest foods that like you'll never see on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And
show the chicken and the meat.
Yeah. So then I got up the next morning, and then we went. Aaron and I went. I was there with Aaron Singerman. We went out and did all this sightseeing and bought a bunch of stuff. Got back around 5 o'clock. I said, I'm going to go to the gym, which was the biggest mistake of my life. Aaron's like, I'm going to go drink alcohol, vodka. I'm like,
yeah, he
was smart. I should have gone and drank vodka. I'd be to this day. What is it? 6 years now later, I'm still nursing a torn quad, so it's still not fixed. But as my wife pointed out, I would never have married my wife. So it all worked out for the best.
Oh, that's right. It was in the cards. See?
I sacrificed my quad, and I wound up with a beautiful wife and two wonderful kids. So it all... See, there's a greater picture that we don't see sometimes because our heads are in the sand. But if we could only step outside of our body and look from a distance, we'd probably see the wisdom in everything that happens in our life.
Well, it's hard to do because people are so busy with their phones. I'm serious.
It's true. It's true. I will definitely admit to being a victim of that myself. You know what the problem is? And you too, we're slaves to our phone because it's part of our business.
I know, but I turn mine off.
You can't though. You have 100 million clients who text you all the time.
I don't have that many. And then.
Yes, you do. Your clients all text you nonstop. I know they do.
I know, but I text them like I turn my phone at like I try to turn it on like 3 different times during the day. You know, like seven to 9,
I don't believe you. Don't believe Chris. He's lying.
I'm just trying to get you in trouble with Amanda.
I know.
Amanda, I never answer my phone.
And you're a serial texter too. Like I try to just barely answer the text message. Like I'm the most succinct texter you'll ever meet. I never give too much information on text.
No.
It irritates me sometimes when I get too many texts. But I don't mind quick text and quick questions because that I can answer quickly. But when the over texters out there who just these guys and girls who just can't write what they want, they have to write like 40 paragraphs.
Of course.
Too much. You got to learn to succinct. We've gone through this before. You got to succinctly text. All right, there was another show also, another John Lindsay show. Oh, actually, was this the John Lindsay show? It probably was. Let me see. Maybe not. It was the Pacific USA Championships, Pro Bikini. And it was in San Diego, California there. And Norman, Austria wins. Congratulations to Norman. She always manages to get a win every single year. I don't know how she does it. It's pretty impressive. She's not afraid to compete. That's why a lot of these top Olympia competitors, whether it be bikini or fitness or women's physique or men's open or whatever, a lot of people, once they hit the Olympia level, that top 6 Olympia level, they don't compete that much anymore. She's always competing. That's why she always gets a win every year. I think that more people need to compete. Speaking of competing, I watched, my wife obviously was a former gymnast. We were watching the U.S. National Women's Gymnastics Championships.
Mm-hmm.
And, Simone Biles, who's the reigning gold medalist in the Olympics there, she's making a comeback. She had taken off a year or two or whatever. I don't think she had done anything for a year. And she came back. And now she looks like a little bodybuilder. Because she's maturing. She's in her 20s now. And her physique has come into its own. And she destroyed everyone. She's like the Ronnie Coleman of, like, women's gymnastics. Like, no one can beat this girl. Like, she can make mistakes. It doesn't even matter because the difficulty level of her routines are so high that she still beats everyone by, like, I think she won by the biggest margin ever or something like that in the history of the event. And I love watching. Don't you love to watch just prodigies, like, genetically? She's like the Michael Jordan of gymnastics. Like, people like that don't come around very often. When you watch them, it's just like, wow, humans, there are people out there that are just meant to do certain things, and she's meant to be a gymnast. It's just incredible.
Speaking of proteges, Tiger Woods, I think, is in the running for like a win this week. Or what happened with that?
Oh, I don't know. We can look it up. The thing I wanted to bring up though about the gymnastics is, you see all these people do these gymnastics, these women gymnasts and everything like that, and then they retire, right? And a lot of them teach gymnastics, so they go on to try to do other stuff, but there's got to be a pretty big amount of these ladies, and maybe the women that don't even make it to the Olympic level, that don't know what to do with themselves after gymnastics. I don't know why they don't go into fitness competitions. Our fitness end of the sport is pretty sparse. There's good physiques, but the talent pool in terms of doing routines is not that good. This is like a perfect, breeding ground for awesome fitness competitors of the future. Let's get these ex-gymnasts to do this stuff.
Because they want to go where the money is.
Yeah, but you know what? Not everyone's in the money. In other words, the top 10 girls in the world maybe make money. What about the other 600,000 that are out there that are good, but they're just not good enough for the Olympic level? They would destroy it. Most of these girls would crush it in fitness competitions.
Yeah.
So I think we need to start doing some recruiting. When I say we, I mean the people that run the organization, not me. I don't have any time to recruit. But that would be a good idea because it would give these girls, a lot of these girls get heavy after they stop competing too because they just don't eat right. Imagine transitioning from gymnastics, elite level gymnastics, into fitness because now you're going to learn how to eat properly. You're going to work on your physique. You already got the skill set to do the routine. And it gives you the ability to showcase it in another venue where people will really, really appreciate it, And you could obviously it would, and I think it would extend your career because most gymnasts are done by the time they're 19, 20.
Yeah. You'd need a course, kind of like the Guru course.
Yeah, you need
how to transition from gymnastics.
Well, I'm putting the onus on the former fitness Olympia champions like the Adela Garcias and the Oksana Grashinas and the Jennifer Hendershots and all those Susie Currys. Let all these former champions start to go. They were all former gymnasts anyway. Let them go and talk to these gymnastics schools and get some of these girls and let's get them into the fitness routine, man. It would revitalize that whole edge of the sport. And you know what? For the promoters out there who are wondering if it's worth it, you guys are going to make more money because you can get more application fees. So it's 100% worth it for everyone to do it. And I think wouldn't you think if like the fitness Olympia, like up, if you had, gymnasts that were actually stars into the gymnastics world that are now fit, it would only up the game.
Oh yeah, no, that would be cool.
It would up the IFBB game way. You get way more coverage too because guess what? Mary Lou Retton
Jose would be complaining they're giving money to the figure girls, the fitness girls, and to the 212s.
Right.
Mary Lou Retton, you're picking the most well-known. Olga Corbett.
Yeah. Yeah. How about or Nadia Comaneci?
Nadia Comaneci.
I just saw an interview with her. She's she married Bart Connors, I think it was. He was an Olympic gold medalist. Imagine their kids. Holy mackerel.
I did a diet for her in Gold's like probably 30 years ago.
Nadia Comaneci?
Yeah, I did it. Of Gold's Gym. I forget what she was trying to figure out what to do. She moved to LA and she was trying to do like movies or something.
Right.
And she was like, not heavy, but heavier. And whoever Ed's partners were in Gold's, because Ed gave me that free office. They brought her in and said, put together a diet for her. And that was, I forget, she might have been with Bart Connor at the time. She had some people with her. She had like a little small entourage.
That would have been fun.
Was it? Yeah.
Was that right after she defected?
I can't remember when it. It had to be like. I'll tell you the year. It was 89.
I'm saying was that before or after the wall came down? And that was probably before it, right?
Let's see, Reagan was president from 80 to 88, so it must have been.
Oh, maybe right after that. So maybe it did come down. She must have been here a while. Tiger Woods almost won the British Open. He didn't win. He lost. Yeah. But they're saying that now his game is back to where it was. So maybe the next time he goes out there and plays, he has a good shot
I
winning.
think it was Valentino. Was it Valentino who had the best summary of what happened to Tiger Woods? His game lost when he stopped chasing chicks around all over the country. It's serious. He said Valentino made some analysis. He said, I think it was Greg.
Yeah, it sounds like something.
No, he said, isn't it coincidental, or because it might have been Romano, that the time it came out that he was like running around with hookers and high-end call girls like every night of the week, like the minute that came to a stop, his golf game suffered.
I'm sure it has something.
You can literally time it to the, to like that incident.
I believe it.
And I think whoever it was, Romano or maybe it was. Find out from Valentino. See if he can, re-comment on that.
It was definitely him. Yeah, it was definitely.
He said it was the endorphins. You get these endorphins going, and he had some type of. It made 100% sense.
No, well, he was. You got to remember also, Tiger was injured too. That's really what happened. He had a lot of injuries. He had to relearn his whole swing because of his injuries. Imagine that. Imagine you have a swing your whole life. That's like and then you have to redo it.
4 years old, yeah. I remember seeing him, Dave, on the Mike Douglas show. If you can remember the Mike Douglas show. Yeah. I had to have been, 10 or something, 14. His father brought him out, and here he was, and they was hitting hole-in-ones.
That's crazy. Yeah, who would have thought?
I would like you to get on the show, Serena Williams' father.
Yeah, he would be a good interview, right?
Oh, he'd one up Sergio and Jose together.
Imagine that, the balls of that guy.
Yeah, because I'm
going to teach my kids how to play tennis, even though they I don't know anything about tennis. I just read a book.
Yep. That's it. and he did all these kooky little drills that nobody used to do in the day, and he had all kinds of crazy conditioning drills that he came up with. He's kind of like the Charles Glass of
yeah. He was the angles of the tennis world.
Well, he'd come up with kooky things that people would say that doesn't work, but it worked. It worked.
He would make him like throw tennis rackets over the top of the gates,
Yeah.
to develop strength.
And then finally, when he finally relinquished, and they hired like the premier, eminent, greatest coach of all time, the girls went back to the father.
Oh, they did? Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, well, he's not pushing us like our father would push us.
Yeah, right. Because the father was like, man, we got to make fucking money doing this.
Yeah.
None of this like fucking light. Wait, we're gonna work, man. We're gonna sweat. We're not playing indoor tennis here. We're playing outdoor tennis in 100-degree heat.
Oh boy,
that'll get you in shape.
It's kind of
right?
one of the
You girls have a little bit too much fat in your ass. We're gonna play in 100-degree heat fucking for 4 hours a day. You'll lose it. Don't worry about it.
Well, it's. I mean, I'm sure, right? The girls have, quote, good genetics, but there's something to be said for his crazy geniusness.
Yeah. Remember we were talking about on the last show? I think it was we were trying to figure out what that pitch was. Remember the pitcher's throw where it's like arcs up in the air?
The knuckleball. I said
it wasn't the knuckleball pitch. It was like a loft, like big looping pitch that some of these pitches threw. It was a couple people.
It was like a blooper knuckle.
Yeah. So one of our listeners.
There was an episode of Fred Flintstone when you threw it.
Yeah.
And they played like.
Yeah. Well, one of our listeners sent me a Wikipedia page that showcases this. It was called the Ephes pitch. It's a very low speed junk pitch, they called it. The delivery from the pitch the delivery from the pitch has a very low velocity and usually catches the hitter off guard. Its invention is attributed to Rip Sewell of the Pittsburgh Pirates in the 1940s.
Is there any video of it?
Oh yeah, you can go on YouTube and check it out.
Please send me the video of it.
Yeah. The
so
slow velocity.
Yeah, slow. How do you throw a slow velocity pitch?
It's thrown overhand like most pitches, but characterized by a high, unusual arcing trajectory. The corresponding slow velocity bears more resemblance to a slow pitch softball delivery than traditional baseball pitch. It's considered a trick pitch because in comparison to normal baseball pitches, which run around 70 to 100 miles per hour, an Ephes pitch appears to move in a slow...
3 miles an hour.
No, 55 miles per hour or less. Sometimes as low as 40 miles per hour.
Boy, you know what? Can you imagine? Pretty odd. You're up against a guy throwing 90-mile-an-hour pitches, and then they bring in someone else who's throwing half that speed. Yeah, you wouldn't even know what. Right?
Here's a good little tidbit on the whole thing. After appearing in over 300 major league games, Rip Sewell, he's the guy who invented the pitch, gave up only one career home run off the Ephes pitch, and it was to Ted Williams at the 1946 All-Star Game. Williams challenged Sewell to throw the Ephes pitch at him. Sewell obliged, and Williams fouled off the pitch. However, Sewell then announced that he was going to throw the pitch again. And that's what he told him before he was going to do it. And Williams clobbered it for a home run.
Crazy.
When describing the mechanics of the pitch and why he was able to succeed where others had failed, Williams remarked, they were asking Ted Williams how he hit it. He's like, a little girl could hit that pitch. But succeed where others failed. Wait, hold on. A little girl could hit that pitch, but you had to provide all the power yourself. Years later, however, Williams admitted that he had been running towards the pitcher's mound as he hit the ball. In other words, he used his momentum. And the photographs reveal that he was, in fact, a few feet in front of the batter's box when he made contact. Under Rule 606 of the official baseball rules,
he pulled a Phil Heath.
Yeah, a batter is right. You're not allowed to step out of the batter's box, so he technically was illegal. But yeah, the pitch. You can't hit the ball over the fence because there's not enough momentum on the ball.
Yeah, there's not. Yeah, that's right. There's not enough speed coming in to even hit it. How do we get talking? Oh, because somebody. Oh, because Sid is a softball.
Right. We say he threw the Ephes pitch. Yeah. Bob Tewksbury threw it also. Phil Necro threw it a little bit. I said
heyday. right?
Yeah.
Last week I did say
Yeah,
Phil
he
Nick.
threw it a couple times. He didn't use it a lot though.
He was a knuckleballer, but
Yeah. Pedro Bourbon threw the pitch. Speaking of Pedro Bourbon, you know the bodybuilder Pedro Barron?
Sure.
The little freakazoid.
Yep.
He posted on his social media recently that he had to go. He was in kidney failure, and his girlfriend gave him a kidney.
yeah, I saw. You know what?
See that?
I met him out in front of Gold's. The one day that I went out there to see Roden last year when Roden was prepping for the Arnold. And I met him out in front of Gold's, and he told me that story. It was like, he's a great guy, man.
Yeah, he is. You know what the weird thing is? I find it so fascinating that, think about how hard it is to find a match for an organ. His girlfriend's a perfect match for him. Don Long's wife was a perfect match for his kidney.
No, it's crazy. It's crazy.
It's like you're drawn to people like.
Well,
like
you
couldn't
you
write
broke
it.
you blasted out your knee in India and met your wife.
True, but it wasn't such a cause and effector. But you know what it is.
Well, Blackman said you were over there looking for the kidney. Remember when we were traveling around the world? He said,
Yeah.
Chris and Dave are looking for organs for Dave. He's got no organs left. Nothing. Ding! Play that
Oh
out.
man, that's funny. Other nicknames for the Ephes pitch include the balloon ball, the blooper ball, the gondola, the parachute, the rainbow pitch, distinct from the rainbow curve, gravity curve, the Monty Brewster, a reference to the titular character in Brewster's Millions. Remember that?
Yeah.
He threw that. And the Bugs Bunny curve, a reference to the 1946 Bugs Bunny cartoon Baseball Bugs, in which several batters in a row swing 3 times at each pitch before the ball reaches the plate. You remember that? Do you remember that?
Okay,
I remember it.
Dave, I said it was Fred Flintstone. Didn't you hear me say it was?
Yes, it was Bugs Bunny.
It was
Yeah.
Bugs Bunny, yeah.
Isn't Wikipedia great? You can find everything online. It's amazing. I love it.
Well, I looked at Wikipedia and they confirmed that me and you were going around the earth looking for kidneys and livers for you.
This is great. I love Wikipedia. The only Wikipedia page that's not accurate is mine, because I have people that keep sabotaging it.
Well, that's why I'm bringing up the phoniness of us running around, because that would be something on it, right?
Yeah,
Dave Palumbo, and used to from 2010 through 2014, Chris Aceto and Dave traveled to Brazil, Australia, all the Eastern European countries looking for a kidney and liver and heart for Dave Palumbo.
And that's where Chris learned to throw the Ephes pitch.
Yes.
Which he then taught to Sid Faruqi, who used it on his softball league and won the championship by having the best ERA in the league. It never ends, Chris. It never ends.
Maybe we could have a softball team, and we could get Boston on it, me on it, you on it, Romano.
We're all beat up. We will get killed.
We could play charity.
I think even Sid's team could beat us, probably. Sid's team could be. Sid could be the star of our team, right? He'd be the pitcher.
Yeah. Well, if he knows how to throw that pitch, nobody can hit it. We can have a good defense.
One of the things that drove me crazy about my bad shoulders is that I always said to myself, I want to, it sucks that I have these terrible shoulders. I'm never going to be able to throw a football or baseball with my son. And this is before I even had any kids. I was already planning this. I'm like, that's all I want to be able to do. I don't even care if I could lift weights. I just want to be able to throw, baseball and catch with my son. So I get my left shoulder done, right? And I'm a righty, right? So I can't really, I can actually do the throwing motion with my left arm, but I have no coordination, of course. But I can catch the ball. I don't have any pain in my left shoulder. So now I'm thinking, because over the next couple of months, I got to get this right shoulder done. We're just trying to figure out the right time. I'm like, I might actually be able to throw a baseball at some point in the future, which is an amazing thing. Which, a matter of fact, I was actually pitching with my right. My right arm is brutally painful, the shoulder joint. And I wanted to. My wife said, "You don't know how to throw a pitch." I'm like, "I'm telling you, I know how to pitch a baseball." My father was a catcher at a very high level when when I was a kid. He used to have me pitch to him. She said, "You don't remember how to pitch?" I'm like, "I could pitch." So,
but
I was pitching pine cones into my canal in my backyard there, into the river that's behind my house. Brutally painful, but I wanted to just prove to her I can throw the ball. I could throw it. So even through the pain, I grit and bared it. And I threw these pine cones. I threw about 5 or 6 pitches. My son was loving it. And she's like, well, you can pitch. So that's my my goal, to get my shoulder done so I can pitch to my son and throw a football to him overhand as opposed to underhand.
Yeah, it's funny. I just drove by. I just drove through a neighborhood in Maine, and I saw on this one street 3 different fathers playing pass with their sons. You don't see that much anymore.
No, you don't. I want to be able to do that. My dad did that with me, but my dad was very involved when I was younger, in sports. He didn't really understand soccer too much because he never played it, but he went to all my games. But we used to throw the football in the back. It's funny. We would throw football in the backyard together, and we would throw baseball, and I didn't play any of those sports because I found out later they didn't want me involved in them. Like my mother, the Jewish side didn't want me involved in football. Well, I had an eye injury when I was a kid, so they didn't want me to like risk injuring the other eye. So they steered me out of those sports. So I wound up playing soccer and running.
Dungeons and Dragons and running.
Playing the Dungeons and Dragons was my own devices. That was my fantasy escape thing. Before they had, if they would have had really good video games back then, I probably just would have been playing video games probably all the time. But I think that probably the Dungeons and Dragons was better because at least it was a social type thing where you're actually involved with other kids. Today, no one even talks to each other. You play online, right? And you're talking through headsets to people you don't even know.
We hate it. So we took our. I didn't introduce it. We took ours away from our kids.
I think it's a good idea. I'm sure I won't be able to.
No, because they do this. They say our friends and so and so gets to play and so and so says that you must be a strict parent. It's like none of it bothers me, guys. You're not playing those games. You know what the sad part though, Chris, is. Well, nowadays you could actually make a living from playing video games. They tell me that too. They tell me that. They're right. You could be. They might be. They could be the next Ronnie Coleman of the video game world, for all you know. There's a lot of ways I tell them to make a living. I think you get. When you're young, you have to be exposed to everything. I think the best decision I ever made was going to a liberal arts college where they make you take everything. I took anthropology. I took history. I took art. I even took an acting class there. You got to be exposed to everything because who the hell, you don't even know what you really like. How could you know what you really like at 19 years old? Yeah, I tell my kids that all the time. You can't know what you like. If you do, you might think you know what you like, but you might find out that you actually like something that you didn't even know about it. I was a runner, and I never thought I'd be a professional bodybuilder or made it. I was exposed to that at school, or people working out, and I'm like, I'm going to try this too. So you never know where you're going. You got to keep an open mind. Sometimes it's not good to just say, okay, I'm 6 years old. I know I'm going to be a neurosurgeon when I get older, and nothing's going to stop me. I'm not going to have any other interest till then, because that's what I think is right to do. You got to keep an open mind because you never know where you're going to wind up. And the funny thing is, you never know what skills you're going to be using later in life. Like I went to medical school and then I left, and I'm like thinking, most people would think, well, what a waste. You'll never use those skills again, right? Well, I used them my whole life. Those skills, all the little things I learned there, I'm still using them. I still have that information in my head, and I see this happen all the time. I see people who worked with their dad for like 25 summers, 20 summers before they went to college, laying brick, thinking, what a waste of fucking time other than the fact that I'm making some money. And then later in life, they wind up, becoming, doing very well financially for themselves. And they wind up building their own house or something like that. You know what I mean? Or just the discipline of bricklaying. Yeah, no. I don't think anything's wasted really in this life. I think there's no such thing as, unless you become a drug addict and you don't do anything. I mean, then in that case, you're probably not going to do very well unless you become a drug counselor later in life. Yeah. Well, I took the video games, or we took the video games away from the 14-year-old and the 13-year-old, and the 13-year-old has been writing a book, and it's like riveting. Wow. Riveting, and he's doing it by hand. It is. I can't wait to read the next chapter, and that's not because, I'm not one of these people. What's it about? It's about a kid who grows up in a broken household, and I'm thinking, is this based on a real story or something? With abuse. Well, you're not a broken household. Where's he coming up with all this information from? He probably steals it from like movies he's seen. Oh, okay. He's an avid reader, so when you read, you just automatically incorporate that stuff into. Interesting, and it's good. You like it? Oh, it's unbelievable, and I'm the first. I always tell my kids, like, you guys, okay, do you want to quit basketball because you're not really good?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like, you know what I mean, that I'm stroking their egos.
Are you? Is it like a Rocky type story?
It's a sad story to start out with. He's on like maybe chapter 4.
Oh,
He's
okay.
only written maybe 60. 40,
Does he know where it's going, or is he kind of just writing it as it goes?
He knows where it's going,
Okay, that's good. Well, that's smart.
and he's very analytical, and he's very observant. So
I want to read it too. Too bad my dad's not around
you
anymore. Too
stopped
bad my
the book.
dad died. My dad used to love to do that stuff, read other people's stuff and critique it and give him.
But he's a perfectionist, and now he's bothered because he realizes there's so much more detail he could be put in there if he was writing it on a computer, because he's been writing it by hand in a
Tell him
notebook.
to start copying it. That's all.
Yeah.
To the computer.
I said the lady who wrote Harry Potter's stuff wrote all of it by hand.
My dad, you know what my dad's rule? I've seen him give people advice with writing. He'll be like, you know what he would tell you, son? There's no rules. Write what you want. Don't listen to what other people tell you. Just write.
It's a good advice.
He's like, don't listen to people saying you can't do this, you can't do that. You do what you want.
It's tremendous advice.
Yeah. Don't let people tell you have to write on a computer. You write it if you're doing good and you have a good feeling for what you're doing when you're handwriting it. Then you handwrite it. You know. Shakespeare hand wrote all the plays he did.
He didn't use an.
There was no typewriters back then.
Yeah.
So, as I said, my dad said, hey, Shakespeare hand wrote everything. I said, but Dad, there was no typewriters back then. He's like, I don't want to hear this crap.
Yeah.
That's just stupid details. I said, what? I don't want to hear it. He hand wrote it. I said, okay, you're right. I guess how can I argue with you? My dad used to, when he would write, you know, he had the typewriter, the old typewriter that like had it wasn't like even electric. Like you had to have
you had to type hard, and you had to push.
Type hard. You had to be. My father probably could have lifted a 100-pound dumbbell up with his fingers. That's how fucking strong his fingers were.
I remember using an electric typewriter, and I thought it was the greatest thing ever.
I always ask my dad, how come you don't use an electric typewriter? He goes, too fast. Moves too fast. I said, too fast? What do you mean too fast? I like the touch type. That's what he used to call it. Touch type.
Yeah.
I got to feel those keys.
Yeah.
I tried to, as a kid.
It's like me, and I told you, I remember how long I had the BlackBerry because I was afraid to text on my iPhone. I like to feel the keys.
Yeah, I the great thing about those BlackBerries was you can text people without looking at the keys because you could feel them.
Yeah.
I knew that the keypad, it wasn't even a real keypad. It was just a number pad that had like certain letters on it, and you just had to know which ones to use, and you didn't have to look at it. Now the funny thing is my dad. When my dad would like leave his he had a little study room, and I would go down there and sneak down there sometimes when I was a kid, and he had the typewriter there, and I would take a piece of typing paper and I'd roll it into put it into the machine, and I'd start trying to type, and the keys, seriously, and I was a strong kid, to get those keys to fucking strike that piece of paper. I had to whack them, as hard as I could. And of course, when you did that, you would invariably hit two keys at the same time, and then they would get stuck because it's almost impossible to explain to people unless you've ever seen a typewriter. It was like this metal thing that would, when you hit the key, this metal thing would hit the paper, and it would it was like a stamp, and it would stamp the letter on there. And if you hit the two keys that were too close together, the two pieces of metal that would strike the paper would get stuck together, and then the machine would bog the whole machine down, and then you had to try to loosen them up and free them. But when you did that, all the ink that was on the metal piece would get on your fingers. So invariably, when I would go upstairs, my dad would be like, "Are you messing with my typewriter again?" I'm like, "No, of course not." He's like, "What's all that ink all over your fingers?" It was like getting you caught with your hand in the cookie jar, So then my dad got to the point where he got lazy, where he used to make my mother she used the electric typewriter. He'd be like, all right, he would handwrite it and she would type it out for him. They were like a team almost, because my mother was my dad had my mother convinced that he was going to write the great American novel and they were going to be rich. Yeah. So she was like, all right, I'm participating. My contribution will be I'll type out all your stuff. And so
the irony to that is he probably could have wrote a big novel.
Well, he did. It was tough back then. It wasn't like it is today. Today you can You could write an
any
ebook
published.
and make anything gets published. Exactly. It was you actually had to be good back then, and you had to know people. And my dad wasn't. All the people in Hollywood and all the people all the writers in New York City, they were all like in this clique. They would hang out with each other in the city. They were all single. My dad got married, and once he had kids, his networking abilities were completely gone after that.
Yeah.
And it's not like today. Imagine today, you can network with someone in fucking China, from your computer now. You never have to leave the house,
Yeah. Yeah.
Think about these YouTubers.
And it can be cool to be a recluse.
Yeah. I went to this. I told you this reptile breeder show in Daytona, and I'm not bragging or anything because it's almost not. I don't even want to even tell the story, but people were coming. I have a reptile channel called Muscle Serpents University, where I do like. I'll interview people at like reptile shows if I go to there, but I'll also do like my own animals. I'll explain the different genes and what I'm breeding, and it's an informational channel, and I guess people like it. I have about 10,000 subscribers, so. And I'm building it slowly. I go to the show, and all these young YouTubers that are reptile breeders are coming up to me, and they're like, "Oh, I watch your videos. I'm so nervous right now. Oh, can we take a picture? Can you be in my vlog? That's the thing everyone does. Everyone does their own vlogs, where they chronicle their whole life. And some of the guys were, they were nice kids, but they were, a little socially awkward. Some of these people, And everyone's a star now. Everyone can be from their house, have their own channel, their own personality, their own, And sometimes, every once in a while, you get one of these guys that just hits it. And there's something about what they do that people can relate to. And they'll get hundreds of thousands of subscribers. They'll monetize their videos. And they're making $10,000, $20,000 a month, Chris, from YouTube. Yeah. But think about that.
I know.
One of the number one, Aaron Singer was telling me, one of the number one channels on YouTube is this kid who plays with toys. Have you seen this? Plays with toys.
Right.
He's got 100 million subscribers, Chris. He plays with toys. He doesn't even talk. I said, what does he review the toys? No. He just plays with toys. And kids watch this, like mesmerized, watching this kid play with his little,
How old is the kid?
He's probably a little older now, but I don't know. He was a young kid. He's a little, he's under 12, I forget the kid's name. He's got to be making $30,000 a month. And of course now his parents are like, yo, yeah, we got to go do a video now. Come on. Every video the guy does gets 1 million hits.
Weird, huh?
Yeah, I bet you if your son was making that kind of money, you'd be like, you take over as his manager, right? You'd retire.
No, but I'd let him play all the games that I don't let him play.
Yeah. Imagine if he had 100 million subscribers because he was playing video games online, which there were kids that would do that too.
Well, that's what they watch. They watch those channels where kids are just playing video games. Yeah, or they're playing video games and they're commentating on what they're playing.
It's a brave new world out there, my friends, and as Norm from Cheers would say, we're wearing milk-bone underwear, Chris, you and I. On that note, we're out of time until next week. Remember, with Heavy Muscle Radio,
the truth hurts.